This work session, regular meeting of the Township Council is called to order. Madam Master Clerk, hiding behind the TV monitor, if you could please read the Open Public Meeting Act.
In accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act of the State of New Jersey, adequate notice of the July 10, 2018 work session regular meeting of the Franklin Township Council was provided as required by law.
If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation given by Councilman James Vassanella. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States. God, indivisible.
As we gather here today as members of the Township Council, we pray that we are ever mindful of opportunities to render our service to our fellow citizens and to our community. And keep in mind always the enduring values of life, exerting our efforts in those areas and on those things upon which future generations can build with confidence. Let us continue to strive to make a better world and a better Franklin. Amen.
Madam Master Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Chase?
Here.
Councilwoman Francois? Councilman Galtieri?
Here.
Mayor Kramer?
Here.
Councilman Onijaka?
Here.
Councilman Prasad? Deputy Mayor Robinson? Councilman Vassanella?
Here.
Councilman Wright?
Here. Next is proclamations and commendations. Mr. Wright. Great.
I'm going to beat this desk up. Now, Mario couldn't come tonight to receive his certificate, but I'm going to read it. So it's inside the record. It's in the record. So, because he did some wonderful work. Mr. Mayor, are you coming down or? He's moving chairs around. Okay, commendation. Whereas the Township Council realizes that participation in organized athletics helps build character and teaches a wholesome sense of good sportsmanship among our youth. And whereas to really excel in any one sport, a young person must demonstrate, in addition to a great deal of natural ability, an outstanding spirit of dedication, enthusiasm, and hard work. And whereas a striking example of this are the achievement of high schooler Mario Hislop. And whereas Mario Hislop, Courier and NJ.com's Track Athlete of the Year, became the first boys track athlete to win both the 100-meter and 400-meter dashes at the Meet of Champions and finished the season with the top state times in the 100 and 400 meters. And whereas, in addition, Mario set a state record at the Dr. Sanders Invitation in the 300 meters, set an indoor state record in the 200, and tied the state record in the 55 meters. Now, therefore, we, Carl Wright, Councilman, and my good friend Philip Kramer, Mayor, on behalf of the Township Council, recognize and express congratulations to Mario Hislop and urge all citizens to join with the Township in recognizing Mario's work, dedication, and continued success. Now, some people would say, I'm pretty fast. Not really. But Mario, when he set these records, and he did a good job at doing that, and he brought light and recognition to Township of Franklin, all I have to do is say, you know, that boy fast. He is really fast, and I'm glad he did this. He's only a junior, so I expect good things out of him next year. And again, you can be an athlete, but in order to get on the field, you have to have academics. So a student athlete, they're called that for a reason, a student athlete, because you have to be smart in the class. You can't be a dumb jock. Those days are over. So with that, I'm going to give this to our master clerk, Miss Anne Marie McCarthy, and she will deliver it to the Director of Athletics, who in turn will send it down to Mario. Thank you. Oh, Mr. Kramer, would you like to say something?
He's fast. And who knew there was a 55-meter race? I didn't know that.
I didn't know that. I thought it was a 50-meter.
That's what I would have gone
Yeah,
with.
I didn't realize.
No,
But
this is quite an accomplishment, and I didn't realize he was only a junior. So next year, some of these records that he tied, he'll probably be breaking. That's pretty
So,
impressive.
yeah. Thank you. Now I got to turn this around.
So full disclosure, the reason I'm switching chairs is that chair was so low that I could barely see the counter, and this chair's too high and won't adjust.
Do your feet hit the floor now?
Not exactly. But that's not a bad thing. Okay, we are open for we are about to open for public discussion. If I can get a motion. And a
So
second.
moved.
Moved and second?
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of opening for public discussion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. We are open for public discussion. Anyone may come up and speak about anything pertaining to government. You may only come up once, 5 minutes. State your name and address, no yielding of time. Mr. Connell.
Good evening. Bill Connell, 25 Spring Street. Every time I come up here, you ever seen the movie Dodgeball? Where
Yes.
Patches O'Houlihan stands in front of, the crowd and says, if you want to learn dodgeball victory, you need to learn the 5 Ds of dodgeball. And the wrench scene, I always want to just get rubber wrenches and throw them at you. Anyway.
Good to know.
You got to watch it. You're looking all puzzled. You Google it, okay? It's very funny. The deer. I'm on the Open Space Committee. I am speaking as myself, and I've been on the Open Space Committee better part of 10 years, not quite, maybe 8 years, but a considerable amount of time. We've discussed deer many, 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 many times. I have a lot of personal interaction. Thankfully, nothing, me personally, terrible, but I've had a lot of interaction with deer myself. But the one thing that strikes me is many times people who are anti-hunting come up and they say it's cruel to the animals. And I just want to tell a story of one time I was coming off at 287, and I watched a deer get hit 3 times, in my view, okay, spinning around, and flesh and blood are flying as cars are passing it, and the thing's skidding along the highway. And that is just the other side of the story. I mean, that's pretty graphic, but it gets the point across, where the deer create problems bigger than just, people talk about getting, somebody missing with an arrow or something like that. And just here, on the way here, I drove from Hillsborough to here. I saw 4 deer, actually technically 2.5. Okay? All right? And there's a very complicated issue, and I firmly believe Franklin has to be much more sophisticated about how they go about hunting, and the issue is much bigger than just being nice to animals. We do a great job with 36% open space. There's not a whole lot more we can do as far as stop development, so you have to be pragmatic about it. And just say, what can we do? We're in this situation, and it's not going to go backwards. And I just think we need to be more sophisticated, and I think some of the ideas here tonight will move in that direction. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Oh.
Linda Powell, 22 Buffer Drive. I'm here to give a little bit of a background. I know people on the council and some of the people in the audience know about this, but there's still a lot of people in our township who are not really aware of what we've been working against for the last 2 years. that Williams Transco Northeast Supply Enhancement Project that proposes to build a new gas-powered gas compressor station at a site by Trap Rock Quarry within a mile from the Delaware-Raritan Canal in Franklin, bordering on South Brunswick, where active dynamite blasting occurs. Compressor stations compress the gas to increase capacity through the pipelines. Natural gas-fired compressor stations are the dirtiest type of compressor, emitting high-volume heat exhausts that include toxic gases like benzene, formaldehyde, ammonia, toluene, and other known carcinogens, and high volumes of greenhouse gases such as methane, which is the most deleterious greenhouse gas, as well as CO2 into the air. So if you're thinking about how hot it is today, just think about if we had this compressor station pouring all these gases into the air on a constant basis. None of this product is for New Jersey residents, so we really don't get the benefit. A lot of the gas comes from a process called fracking, which injects toxic chemicals into the earth, pollutes precious water resources that could have been used for drinking or bathing, destroys farmland, contaminates the environment, causes earthquakes and tremors, and intensifies global warming and climate change. Dangers of fire, explosions, and injuries from leaks and ruptures in aging pipeline is a real threat, and some of these explosions have already occurred in New Jersey. We have had somewhat of a minor success in delaying the process, which we've been doing all along. And we want to thank all people who did write and call and email both Governor Murphy and the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection about the incomplete and sometimes inaccurate information that was provided by Williams Transco in their application to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission and to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. We have a new letter because Williams Transco withdrew their incomplete and inadequate applications for the freshwater wetlands individual permit, the flood hazard areas verification and individual permit, the waterfront development individual permit, and the coastal zone consistency determination on June 14th and submitted new applications for these same permits on June 19th. With the new application, there is a delay, and we have 30 days to respond from the publication, which was July 5th. So we're asking people to sign our new letter so we can send it in to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, both asking them to deny these new applications for permits, as well as having public meetings. They call them fact-finding meetings or public hearings, both here in Franklin or near Franklin, and also in the Bay, where they want to expand a pipeline out through the Bay. That's all I have.
How does one go
Thank you.
about signing that letter? How does one go about signing the letter?
There will be a letter. Oh, Bernadette was going to talk about that, but if I still have time, there will be a letter. You have it in front of you, so you guys can all sign it tonight. That includes the ladies. But there will be a letter posted on our website, and hopefully there will be some that will also be able to be emailed to some people if they're connected with some of the local environmental groups. Our website is scrap, SCRAP, dash, a dash sign, Nese, NESE.org or .com. Either one works. There are some signs around town that have that website on it, and you can look there and print out the letter. And there may also be an opportunity to email the letter. I'm not sure about the technology of that, but definitely look on the website. And our next meeting, if you can also bring the signed letters to our meeting, and we'll mail them in for you, is Monday, July 16th at 8 p.m. here at the Municipal Building, 475 Demont. It'll be held right after the benefit dinner for the food bank, which is at the Palace at about 6. There's some other activities going on to benefit the food bank that night.
That time?
8 p.m.
That's Monday, the 16th, July 16th. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
Hello, my name is Kelly Zaire from 18 Airy Drive. I'm here to tonight in the reference to the chain on Airy Drive. I understand that when the complex was built, there was only the one entrance and that the two currently chained and blocked entrances were added later. I realize that the residents of Somerset Mews can still simply turn onto 27 to get out of the complex as they did over 30 years ago. However, the fact that the township has increased in size an estimated 55% means that that is even much more difficult than it used to be. Even though I was concerned for the safety of the residents in the back of the complex, those fears were somewhat alleviated by the assurances that the two blocked and chained areas are considered fire lanes. That caused me to express my concern of how the first responders would be able to get through the chains. I was assured that they would have keys. I have since spoken to one first responder who stated that he found out about the chain only when he drove down Julie to answer a call and was surprised to find a chain there. If he didn't know about the chain being placed, one could surmise that he didn't have a key to unlock and remove the chains. I was also concerned over the winter when we received quite a lot of snow, and I saw that Dina Drive appeared to have been cleared by a plow by simply pushing all the snow up to the chain. That left a large pile of snow blocking the chain. I even saw cars parked in front of the pile, and even now I see cars parked on both sides of that road, leaving a rather narrow lane for emergency vehicles to get through. I figured that since it is a private drive, that maybe I had misheard that Dina entrance was a fire lane. But I do, however, know that Julie is a fire lane. However, this winter snow was plowed and left in front of that chain also, when in years past that whole area had been well plowed. At the beginning of the school year, a lot of parents would park in front of the chain to bring their kids over to the bus stop. But that was solved within 2 weeks when the children at Julie Court went back to their original bus stop and so no longer had to come onto the complex. My biggest concern lately was that on June the 30th, when I drove out of my apartment lot, I saw a trailer parked between the chains with the chain on the Julie side removed. I went and did my errands, and then when I came home, I saw 3 large vehicles parked in between the chains. Per Franklin Township Ordinance 4170-17, Chapter 226, Section 226-35 states that the section of Airy Drive between Block 37.02, Lot 7.04, and their easterly curb of Julie Court shall be closed to traffic other than emergency vehicles. The chain on Julie was removed so that 3 construction vehicles were able to park there, potentially blocking emergency access. Provisions of NJSA 39:4-94.2 states that no person shall drive a vehicle on or over the closed section of the roadway. And yet they were parked there as a resident on Julie Court was having construction done on their property. My questions that I would like answered are, is Dina a fire lane and are therefore subject to the same rules as a public street? What are the ordinances regarding snow removal in and around fire lanes? Do all first responders know about the chains? Do they have keys? And do they know what those keys are used for? Do the residents of Julie Court have keys? And if not, who unlocked the chain and let people illegally park on a fire lane, potentially blocking an entrance to our complex, endangering the safety of our children and our other residents?
So I think these are great points. Mr. Manager, are you able to answer any of this off the cuff, or will you have to?
Well, some of it I can answer off the cuff, but I'm not going to. I'll give her an answer when she provides it to me privately. At this particular point, with the rattling on of the questions, I wasn't writing them down, and I don't want to get anything wrong.
Okay.
So
So you can,
absolutely.
you'll find time to,
Do you by chance have a business card
I
so I
do,
can
right
get
in
your
my
email?
pocket, which I'm reaching for
Thank
before
you
you
very
ask
much.
for it.
Thank you very much.
Perfect.
those are very good points, important points, and I thank you for bringing them up. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Hi, Bernadette Marr, 4 Norris Road, Somerset, New Jersey. Just again, want to reiterate sort of what Linda said. Thank everyone for signing the letter, and please be sure to sign the new letter. Our campaign was successful, we feel, in helping the DEP. We anticipated was going to deny the permits, and so Williams withdrew their application and then resubmitted it. We submitted over 1,000 hard copy letters, and several thousand were submitted online through League of Conservation Voters, helped and posted it on their website. So we definitely feel that it had an effect, and we would like everyone to sign again. Ask your neighbors, ask your friends. We can provide you some copies, and hopefully we will have it online. Again, it's requesting that the NJDEP deny the permit application from Transcontinental Gas Pipeline Corporation for the Nessie project due to its incompleteness and maintain authority over this permitting process. And also to request that the NJDEP hold 2 public fact-finding meetings or hearings pertaining to separate aspects of the applications. One near the proposed compressor station 206 in Franklin Township, and another at the Madison and Raritan Bay loops in Old Bridge and Sayreville, Middlesex County. We urge and invite anyone who would like to attend. Our next meeting will be Monday, July 16th at 8 p.m. here at the Franklin Municipal Building. Again, if you'd like any additional information, you can find that on our website, www.scrapnessie.org. Thank you.
Ms. Marr,
Thank you.
I have my letter. I signed it, as did Besnella. Oh, wait, there we go. I'm sure the rest of council will have that. Anyone else wishing to speak? I saw Mr. Tibbs with his hand up. Welcome, Mr. Walker. Go ahead, Mr. Tibbs. You have the floor.
You see, it's John Walker.
Go ahead.
Oh, man, I better see him first.
Breaking my microphone?
Having a day there, Johnny.
I better not do.
Okay, time's up.
9 o'clock. You got
He said it so casually. Look, Bill's laughing back there.
But I have to see.
You're the last bill.
Oh, man. This was for you and for you and for you guys. Oh, first of all, let me just say this real quick.
Name and address.
All right.
Name and address.
Name and address.
Name
Do
and
we-
address.
Name and address.
Johnny Tibbs, 25 Parkside.
Thank you.
I had a meeting earlier with the children and the kids at the Pine Grove Garden and so forth.
Okay.
And we want to know the status of the irrigation unit that was supposed to be put in Pine Grove.
Yep. It's going in, and Public Works has got to install it. We're not going out to contract for it. We're going to handle it in-house, so they have to get over there and get all the equipment, and we have the agreement with the Board of Ed, and everything is moving forward. It's just a lot of work right now, so.
Oh, okay, but it is.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, it's going to happen, John.
Oh,
It's all
okay.
good to go.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
All
And-
good to go.
Well, I won't do this time. When's your next meeting? Well, I'm gonna say this
August,
right
you
now.
got a whole month to prepare.
I'm gonna say this right now. 1844, no more. 1844, no more.
Words to live by.
1844, no more. There are several legislatures in Congress, in the Trenton legislature right now, have passed several bills denying, New Jersey is denying the right to vote over 95,000 individuals that's in prison right now, that's on parole and probation, that's not able to vote. There's a large contingent of organizations and cities in the state of Jersey that's providing the Institute of Social Justice, that's joining them and providing the right to vote. They have several bills in Congress now. One that just passed, I don't have my glasses on, guys. One that just passed one. There's two more that's before the state legislature now. Okay? Yeah, I know that this is not, I'm not prepared to,
You do have your glasses on.
no, these are not reading glasses.
So,
But I'm gonna say this one more time. 1844, no more. You will be getting material for the next 3 days, next month, including Joe Danielson. We're trying to get apply to him to join the fight in Trenton and the rest of the people. Just one thing I will say right now, that New Jersey denies the right to vote to more people than the total population, New Jersey's capital of Trenton. Okay? So you understand what that means. And the disparity between the decriminalization of marijuana and so forth and the kids that's in jail, the disparity is like this. From non-whites, people of color, it's 12-1 for adults. For young adults, it is 30-1. 30-1 that's not able to vote. Disparity between people of color and whites. Okay? Thank you very much.
thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Everybody got a copy?
No, not yet.
Enough is 12 of them. It's enough for everyone.
Start talking before we get the copies. This is coming out of your time.
Walter Howard, 148 Connington Avenue, Somerset, New Jersey. Before I can start speaking, everybody need to have a copy in front of them. So that they know what I'm speaking about. Enough for everyone. Okay, as everyone can see, you have a copy of a resolution in front of you showing that the council released the deed restriction. Now, a couple of questions to your attorney. We understand releasing the deed restriction when the property is under contract with Habitat does not establish precedent to the policy, correct? And that is the reason why the council released the deed restriction from this property. However, releasing the deed restriction when the property is not under contract with Habitat does establish precedent to the policy, doesn't it, Counselor? Now, my question to you, you were the township attorney when this resolution was created, when the council released the deed restriction. As of October the 25th, 2005, is the property under contract with Habitat, or is this resolution falsified?
At the time we passed the resolution, it was represented to us that so whether it is now or not, I don't know.
No. As of this date, October 25th, 2005, as of that date, is the property under contract with Habitat? Yes or no?
So, no, so first the question would be, as of that date, was it under contract?
Yes.
The answer is, it was represented to us, I think, at the time.
As of that date, okay. I will have, on the next page, you have evidence showing that it wasn't under contract as of that date. A letter from Habitat attorney canceling the contract on February 19th, 2004. And his letter goes on to state why they canceled the contract. Because the council refused to comply with policy. A policy that was created by Mayor Kimberly Francois and the 96th Council, which requires deed restrictions be released when they are under contract with Habitat. Now, Councilwoman Francois is here tonight. She was the mayor at the time when the council created the policy. Am I correct, Councilwoman Francois?
It was 1996. I was the mayor.
Right, that's right. I believe you was the first mayor, female mayor elected in Franklin Township. Am I correct?
At large.
At large, okay. Yeah. And you made headlines at that time, too. As like I said, the letter from Habitat attorney states February 19th, 2004, property, they canceled the contract. So in 2005, the property is not under contract. The council action established precedent to the policy. And when the council established precedent to the policy, that means the council must release deed restrictions for everyone, including that of Mr. Higgin, who
No,
have an
that's
application.
But that's not the case. So let's make sure that we understand what happened in 2004 and 2005. You were in negotiations with Habitat for Humanity, and there was a question as to whether or not we would release the deed restriction if you were under contract. So the answer is, we passed this resolution, give you an opportunity to sell the property to Habitat for Humanity. Now, whether or not you were in contract or that deal ever got resolved is really of no moment, because the township policy has been that we only release these deed restrictions to build affordable housing units, and we only for Habitat for Humanity. That's always been our process. So your conclusion that when you say whatever you say and then you end up and you say, and therefore you have to release every deed restriction, there's nothing in any of these papers or in anything that you just said that would lead to that conclusion.
No, that's not
So that's
what I'm
always
saying.
been that's always been, Mr. Howard, you and I have done this for 17 years. The answer is, that has been our policy. Our policy has been that we release these deed restrictions to allow for Habitat for Humanity to buy property to build affordable housing units. If you remember correctly, you were here a half a dozen times before that and told that we wouldn't
Let me
release
interrupt
the
because
deed
you're wasting my
restriction,
time, Counselor.
and then
You're wasting my time. Hold on.
Oh,
In
I'm sorry.
August the 7th, 2003, the property received zoning approval. It's under contract with Habitat. Why didn't the council release the deed restriction?
I have no idea.
You were the township attorney, Counselor.
But I have
You
no
tell the
idea.
council what to do.
No, that's not true.
You advise the
That's
council.
not true.
You
No, he
advise the council
advises.
of the law. You advise the council of the law.
So the answer is I have no idea. It was 15 years ago.
You
Why it
advise
is
the
that-
council of the law. It's the policy to release deed restrictions so that it can be sold to Habitat. That's the policy, isn't it? Yes, you just said so on the record.
Sure, it has been
The
township
property
policy.
is under contract in 2003 with zoning approval.
That's-
Why didn't you advise the council that is the policy and they must release the deed
Well,
restrictions?
the answer is once again, a policy and the council must is two different things, right? So the answer is that the township had a policy, and to be perfectly honest, this is at or about the time when the township was actually forming that policy. So
Not
I
only is
don't
it the
really
policy,
even know.
though, Counsel.
Mr. Howard, your time is up.
Okay, let me just make one closing statement then.
Closing statement.
Okay. Not only is it the policy, but case law, Davidson Brothers versus D. Guest and Son, 274 NJ Superior Court, 159 Appellate Division, 1994, requires that the council release deed restrictions so that they can be used for public housing instead of keeping the deed restrictions on the property. You are
That's
aware
not-
of that, Council.
That's actually not true, but
Yes,
that's
it
okay.
is. That is
I
the
don't
reason
want-
why
I'm
the
not gonna
Board of
argue with you, Mr.
Adjustment
Howard.
granted zoning approval to this property
So
because
that was
case
your
law.
closing statement. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Though I've seen that everyone has spoken.
Mayor, see no one come forward, a motion to close the public portion of the meeting.
Seconded.
Nope. Moved and seconded. All in favor of closing the public portion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Public portion is closed. We are now on to council comments. Mr. Gilatieri, Councilman Gilatieri.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First and foremost, I want to thank, I want to thank everybody who helped to make the Township 4th of July celebration a wonderful night and another success. Even with the weather that came through, it still was a wonderful night, and I hope everybody had fun. And I'm not going to name anybody in particular because I'm sure I will miss everybody. But thank you, and I hope everybody had a happy and safe 4th of July. The only committee meeting that I had, Mr. Mayor, is, again, the authority meeting last Monday. Simply put, we're trying to wrap up one construction project, but we have 2 or 3 that will be starting within the next couple of weeks. So to the residents who will be impacted, I'm sorry, but this is I do apologize in advance. We are going to monitor closely the projects, and it's to better the system to make sure that it serves the community properly and the way it's supposed to. So other than that, Mr. Mayor, that's all that I have.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Onijaka.
Okay, Mayor. I'm very, very grateful that the issue of deer management program has come out in green light. You know, I have been an advocate of the deer control in Franklin. I told you many nights. I ran into deer 2 times, and my car was in each of them. My car was badly damaged. So, and I felt this. I felt the pain, and at the same time, I know other members of Franklin, and they are going through the same thing. So I took it upon myself to make sure that the deer is controlled. I'll have a process to manage the population of the deer in Franklin. And I came today, and I saw there's a program for the deer management. You know, and I think it's time that our township manager will look into it and find the possible way we can control this deer. You know, I have been an advocate of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Kimberly Francois.
I want to thank Linda Powell and Bernadette for all their efforts with the compressor station. I think that you guys have been consistent and persistent, and you've done a great job, and I want to thank you for that. You've done a lot of work, and it's not come unnoticed. Mr. Mayor, I had a couple comments, but I think I'm going to pass tonight. I'm constantly baffled that Mr. Howard comes back here it's been how many years? 18 years with the same issue over and over and over. And it somewhat bothers me that as many times as we've sat down with him and tried to explain everything that, he keeps coming back. And I just think it's very unfortunate. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. The very first council meeting I came to 15 years ago, actually almost 15 years ago to the day, presented. So.
And it's always the same paperwork, and he basically says the same things. And we try to explain to him, and it goes on deaf ears. So it's unfortunate he feels that the township has wronged him in some way, and we followed the letter of the law. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Vasanella.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes. And thank you, Linda Bernadette. Just when Councilwoman Francois mentioned it, I was thinking about the comments I'm going to make, which are brief. But thank you. John Thibs, I don't know if he's still here. I know the issue he brought up has been in the news recently, and really it's a Trenton issue, but that's an issue that people should learn more about, and we'll see what Trenton ends up doing with the voting rights. Economic development and land use, I believe there's other council people that attended those meetings that was involved with that would be reporting on them. Those were the main committees that I was involved with in the last few weeks. The deer was brought up, and I'm going to wait until we have the report. I know Councilman Ononjaka and myself last year, I know, and the beginning of this year we're talking about seeing what kind of initiatives we can get more assertive with. But we and as the rest of the council were awaiting the discussions and reports, et cetera, that Open Space specifically and the Environmental Commission, I believe, has been visiting these issues recently, along with perhaps some other committees. But I'll have a couple comments about what I think we can do. We just got the report, which is going to be presented shortly as a council discussion item, and I've just been browsing through it, as I think other council members have. So I have a couple of initiatives I'd like to throw out there, but I'll wait until that discussion. Otherwise, enjoy the summer until we convene in August, and be safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just 2 items. One, as Councilman Vasanella noted, we have our land use meeting, and really can't get into it because they potentially would say acquisition, so we can't get into those items. So that was basically land use. Recreation Advisory Committee. We'll be driving by bus to the various locations where there are programs that we sponsor. Neiman Williams Park Pool, tennis areas, behind the middle school, various locations where we send you to have fun. If you look at the newsletter that's put out for this quarter, they will list all the activities, and if you want, you check it off, you send it back in, and if you meet the criteria, well, you're in. What we will do is we'll look at the condition of the area that the children are enrolled in, the programs that are offered, to see how many kids actually use the programs, and how we can make the programs better for the future and with future costs. So as we go through this process, the committee will look at these things and make suggestions. And it's important for people to come by and want to sit and hear what we have to say, but no one seems to come. That's just like the open space meeting. That's just like all these other committee meetings. You, as the township residents, need to come and hear how we spend your money. You need to come and find out what we put on. We put on a chess club. Half the people don't even know that. And that's for you. So definitely come out. That's it, Mr. Mayor. Have a great summer. I will be running everywhere. I just bought a new bike, so I'll be pedal pushing all around Franklin to get into shape. The Sisters Network has something coming up. Ms. Francois is on the board of directors, and I hope to be ready for that run. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to, Councilman Dr. Chase.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to amplify slightly what Councilman Wright said about the Land Use Committee, we approved getting appraisals on some properties for either acquisition or farmland, buying the development rights, farmland in order to preserve farmland. And we also discussed the possible use of a couple of very short bits of paper streets for the contractor that will be working on a pumping station for the sewage authority. I will have some things to say when we get to the deer management program, and I want to emphasize that there are a lot of angles to this. One that's dearest to my heart is that when there are too many deer, all the saplings get eaten up and the forests do not regenerate. Trees fall down and new trees do not grow. Else I was going to say. Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Doctor. Councilman Rajiv Prasad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was out for 2 weeks, so the HRC did meet. They met with one of the principals of the middle school. And the admin, there was no meeting. Land use, Councilman Carl Wright and Dr. Chase already reported on that. Community Foundation, there was no meeting. And I want to thank the Compressor Task Force for a great job, and let's keep up that effort, and we're there to support you. And I'll probably be there at the next meeting we have, so. And I want to say thank you to all the fireworks people that made it a success. My kudos to everyone. It was a great job. despite the weather. I think it was a good call to hold and we got the crowds. On a sad note, Mrs. Chandrakanta Desai, who was Democratic Committee woman for 20-plus years, passed away on the 25th of June, and they will be having a memorial service for her at her home on Saturday from 3 to 5 p.m. at 1 Lindsay Court, and we'll go and read a proclamation there. Now, I was gone, and the ad hoc committee comprising of Councilman Vasanella, Wright, myself, and Ms. Robinson, Deputy Mayor, has not met because we have not received any plans that we can cost out and come back with any cost determined. And we're expecting some legal opinions from the donors to report to the council, and that hasn't happened either. So we're waiting for that. There's nothing further to report, but the moment we get that, we will call a meeting. I understand that Deputy Mayor Chanel Robinson is extremely busy and occupied with a lot of assignments as Deputy Mayor. So our mayor has graciously agreed to step in and be on the ad hoc committee, and I'd like to nominate the mayor to be on the ad hoc committee and ask for the council to approve of that, if that is the process. I don't know.
I appreciate that, and I will step in at the next meeting, officially, publicly. Lines from that, I don't.
Okay.
Well, I have heard that that is her intention, so thank you for what you are doing, but let's do it entirely legally and wait till she somehow resigns.
Okay.
And then I will accept that position, and if there's a meeting, I can certainly attend.
Fill in. Okay, great. The other thing is that the ad hoc committee felt that they needed citizen input, so they formed a citizens advisory committee. And the important thing was advisory committee, because they also, as the ad hoc committee, do not have any power to pass any decisions. They will come back and make recommendations to the full council, and that's when all those decisions will be decided upon. So we had invited people from the citizenry and basically people who were community leaders, like the Human Relations Chairman, Gary Rosenthal, and Interfaith Chair, Alex Karazi, and local residents, the West African leader, Ben Jala, and local neighbor and engineer, Govind Shashadri. And we were not aware, and I apologize for that, that a lot of us were not aware that there was a transaction that took place that put the Consolata property as open space inventory. And so if we committed an oversight of any sort by ignoring the open space group, my apologies, because it was done in ignorance, and it was later on pointed out that this was open space land. And so we are inviting, and I have reached out to the open space chair, Randy Jones, and he's agreed to represent his committee and provide us input on that. So please accept my apologies for those that were upset at the process. It was ignorance on our part. We would also like to nominate a Human Relations Commission, UN Human Relations Commission member. We're fortunate to have him residing in our town, and that is Mr. Fode Mansouri. So he brings a lot of global experience from his work at the UN. So those are the people I'd like to make a motion to, if it does require council appointment and approval, then we would like to make that motion to make these people the Citizen Advisory Committee members to the Council Ad Hoc Committee on subject.
So I have a nomination. It doesn't actually need a second, but Councilman Vasanelli, you had a comment?
Well, I just wanted to, it sounds good, Councilman. Just, if you could just state those names again, so there's no confusion as to the name of the person and what group they may be part of or represent.
Gary Rosenthal, Chairman of the Human Relations Commission, Alex Karazi, who is the President Chair of the Interfaith Community Committee, and that's all the houses of worship. And local residents are the West African leader, Mr. Ben Jala, and neighbor to the Consolata property is an engineer, Govind Sheshadri, and the open space chair is Randy Jones, and the UN Human Rights Commission resident in our town, an expert on human rights, etc., is Mr. Fode Mansouri. So those are the people.
Councilman Prasad, did you want to have anybody from the, make sure I get the exact name, the Cultural Arts Group? Global Arts Commission, I think it's.
Everybody's welcome to provide input. We welcome them. If there's somebody who is the chair of that committee, I know they're busy with the gazebo, but,
John Felix.
well, then John Felix is invited, and if you give me the number, I'd be glad to reach out to him and invite him.
Any other nominations? I would just like to add the statement or their representative, because if they can't come, then they...
That's fine.
Mr. Mayor, and just having attended the Open Space Advisory Committee, their request was that their chairman would appoint someone from the Open Space Advisory Committee, not that their chairman would sit on that committee.
Well, we have had the precedent of inviting the chair of all the other committees, so that's why we reached out and said, we invite the chair of the Open Space Committee, that's all.
No, I understand. I'm just, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with doing that. I'm just saying that they had a lengthy discussion at that Open Space Advisory Committee meeting about this particular topic, and their request was, and it was sent to all of you in writing, that the chair appoint someone from that advisory committee to this ad hoc committee.
So that would be covered by or their representative? Yep. Good. Okay, anyone else commenting on the nomination? Since there are no opposing nominations, we can do it by acclamation. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Congratulations, all of you. I will not attempt to name them. Continue, Mr. Prasad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm done with my report.
Okay. Well, that leaves it to me. Thank you to the everyone. I'll take Mr. Gary's method. To everyone involved with the 4th of July, I will like to thank Anti-Compressor Station Committee for their incredible work. Selfless work. And continued success, I wish to. And I guess it's up to me to look at my scattered notes of the Economic Development Committee meeting and try to remember what we talked about. The Naaman Williams pool has leaks and maybe another couple of weeks or maybe a week and a half.
I'll be giving them a report.
Okay, good, very good. The Hamilton Street sidewalks have been pared down a bit, and we now are going out to bid again for that, or we got the bid?
On your agenda tonight.
Excellent, oh, excellent. We are doing a market study on what areas have what needs for retail services. Regrettably, PSE&G going to be cutting down some trees, basically from the power lines as they cross roughly the area where the power lines cross Van Cleef down to Amwell Road, following Amwell Road to Elizabeth, and down Elizabeth roughly to the where the highway crosses Elizabeth. They will be clearing trees that are in the right-of-way, I believe.
They'll be clearing trees that would impact the right-of-way. So most of the trees, though, are not in the right-of-way. They're on private properties.
And this would be on the side where there are power lines, and the reason is because they are going to be enhancing the power lines there. The township has, counselor can correct me if I'm wrong, zero say in this.
That's correct.
Both of you. We've made some contacts with PSE&G to try to get them to adequately give notice, but they're a form of government above us in their limited area. And then we will be voting tonight on, we discussed the ramifications of the reorganization of the engineering department as on economic development and how this will make it a little more user-friendly. That is all I believe I have. And pardon me for the sloppiness of that report. I wasn't expecting to give it. And that concludes the council comments. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have very little to report. The one thing I will report on is what you began to bring up as far as the Naaman Williams pool. And unfortunately, as a result of, I guess, age and the fact that we tried to make some repairs to a crack that then spread once the pool was filled. The pool had to be drained. We had two companies to come in to give quotes on emergency repairs today, actually. They were there this afternoon. We anticipate getting those quotes back in the next day or two, and we've been told that it's anywhere between 3 days and a week's worth of work to repair it, and then obviously we would have to fill the pool back up again and get the chemical levels where they need to be. So as much as I'd like to give you an exact date, that's kind of the rough timeline right now. However, given all the circumstances related to the pool, decision was made to give refunds to all of those people who had signed up for programs related to the pool over the summer. However, we've also made arrangements at no cost to those who take advantage of this opportunity at this point, given the circumstances. We'll be taking children via bus to the Warrenbrook Pool in Warren, which is a county pool in the Bridgewater YMCA, where they'll have an opportunity to swim twice a week. They'll be broken up into groups, and it'll be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Oh, let me know what I said that, and let me just check that to make sure that that's absolutely true. It is. Generally speaking, there are trips on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and Tuesdays and Thursdays are taken up by other activities. There are some Mondays that already had previously scheduled trips and what have you, but they'll be able to go for a couple of hours and utilize those pools in lieu of our pool for those children who had signed up for programs, and also just those children as kind of an open swim during the day will be able to go to those pools transported by us and brought home, and that will be at no cost to them or their parents. So we're trying to make every accommodation. In addition, the spray park, which was constructed recently, is open and functioning, and that's an alternative to to the pool when it gets hot for the kids to go and cool off. So we're doing the best we can, given the circumstances. I think that you'll probably hear about the resurfacing of the pool when we talk about budget for 2019 and the capital improvements projects in the parks. So it looks like we need to do a full resurfacing of the pool.
See, I love the township manager. He takes care of business. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's disappointing. And we don't like these things to happen, and we tried to do everything in our power to keep it from happening and do some emergency repairs. Unfortunately, it didn't work, so now we just have to take it a little bit further.
But I would say the kids are enjoying the sprinkler.
They are. The spring park is pretty popular, so at least we get that. And on those hot days that we had before the 4th of July over that weekend, at least that one, and we had it up and running all day and into the evening hours because they
And
needed to
nobody's
cool.
complaining either.
Good. That's what I like to hear. So I haven't heard any complaints. So that usually I will.
Any complaints?
But we're making every effort to accommodate everybody as best we can, given the circumstances.
Unless Ms. Francois had a complaint. I know she was out there.
I saw her in the spray park.
Don't tell all my secrets.
And then the only other thing is other council, the council has thanked them, so I will as well. Certainly the members of our staff who worked so hard for the fireworks, and I'll just name them: Alice Sipowicz and John House, and members of the police department, the chief, Captain Borland, Eric Hagman in the traffic bureau do a tremendous job of getting people in and out and getting people parked. Carl Houck in the Public Works Department made our municipal complex look beautiful. I would like to give a particular note of thanks, and I don't know that any of them will ever watch this or listen to it, but we started a program 2 or 3 years ago to hire young people to do work with the Public Works Department as seasonal employees, and we had about 10 or 15 of them out there the 2 days before, spreading mulch and cleaning up and cutting grass and weed whacking and sweeping and all of it, and really the complex looked great, and it was as a result of their hard work that it looked that way. So that's a nice little bonus that the Public Works has this summer. And I think as of now, there are 17 working in either the Public Works Department or the Water Department, and I think I have 4 of them working on open space properties. So they get an opportunity to work hard and earn some money, and we get a lot of work out of them. So they did a great job.
We actually pay them?
We do. We pay them, believe it or not. We do. So, yes, it was genuinely a nice night, and all of the work that goes into it was noticed by me as I walked around. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Gualtieri.
Mr. Mayor, so thank you to, I want to express thank you to both the county and our employees that were out for both the hazardous waste pickup and Operation Shred. I know there was some feedback from the public of traffic and everything. Knowing that feedback, before my time on any commission or on council, I believe that it used to be held at the authority. So we are looking at, the authority is looking to invite that, restart that again, rather than tying up traffic at the municipal building, given how there's a lot of events that go on here on a daily basis, and DeMont is a major thoroughfare, plus the farmers market, which is successful on the weekends. We don't want to disrupt that. So as the authority, and then working in conjunction with the municipality and the county, we're looking to move it back over to that area, so given that there is no residents over there. So that is something that we will be working on, and so please take note that government does once in a while move pretty quickly, that this was brought up this weekend, and by Monday there were already phone calls being made to start discussing working on this in the future. So please note we do try to act as fast as we can. So, but again, thank you to all the employees and to the county for hosting those events. You know, a lot of people took advantage of it. It's very helpful to get rid of papers and any materials around your house. So,
Thank you. Year management.
Probably, yeah. Take them.
If you'd like.
Hi, everyone. How are you? I think we met briefly a while back, but I'm Tara Kenyon. I'm the open space consultant, and I have been here since January, really enjoying it. And so tonight I'm going to give you a presentation on deer management, results from last year, and some recommendations for the upcoming year based on some research, some talks with our Ag Advisory Committee, Open Space Advisory Committee, and Trails. So just to give you some quick information on deer, does start having fawns now at 1.5 years old. It used to be that they were slightly older when they started having some fawns, but now they start a lot earlier. They also used to have singletons. Now they typically have twins or triplets. So deer are very adaptable creatures, and I always like to joke that every time we meet as humans and talk about deer management, they're having meetings like out in the field saying, how are we going to get around that? Because they find ways to really adapt to our programs. In New Jersey in 2016, there was over 27,000 deer-related vehicle crashes. 160 of those took place in Franklin Township last year. 40% of New Jersey is forested, which is perfect food for deer and the perfect habitat for deer. Deer can eat 6 to 8 pounds of fresh weight a day, and 1 pound of fresh weight is 600 tree saplings. So I heard Dr. Chase make a comment before that the saplings get eaten and trees do not regenerate, which is absolutely true. A deer's browse line is at 5 feet above the forest floor. So when you see what's sometimes referred to as the lollipop effect, when a tree literally looks like a lollipop because the bottom has been all consumed, that is because that's where deer are eating, from 5 feet and below. 78% of farmers have reported serious crop damage in relation to deer. That's a economic loss, not only for the farmers themselves, but also for the industry in Franklin Township and across the state. I know there's a lot of concerns about Lyme's disease. New Jersey is number 2 in the country for Lyme's disease. There's been clusters of Lyme's disease in Somerset and Hunterdon County specifically. And lastly, the last deer census that was performed was done back in 1999, and that showed that there was 150 deer per square mile in the township. Today, 150 deer per square mile. That was back in 1999. Today, studies show that 20 deer per square mile is considered optimal for ecosystem health. So you can see we're above that. This map shows where the hot spots of animal-related car crashes are, the 160 that I mentioned that occurred in 2017. As you can see, where it's redder is where there's more deer-related incidences. So, of course, DeMott and Easton Ave, Amwell Road, Route 27, and the southern part of the township. These spots are consistent, I've noticed, at least in the last 5 years. This slide basically tells you what our deer management program is and has been in Franklin Township. So we follow all of the hunting regulations for Zone 14, Regulation Set 8, established by New Jersey Fish and Wildlife. So we follow all those rules to the T. That includes hunting can happen a half hour before sunrise to a half hour after sunset, no firearm hunting on Sundays, and the department establishes the seasons for hunting. I'm going to go into that a little more later, but season 1 is all bow hunting. Season 2 is bow hunting with muzzle loader and a 6-day firearm season. And then season 3 includes full firearm and winter bow. We have 14 designated hunting areas right now in Franklin Township. We're looking to add another, which I'll get into in a little bit. We also have farmers that lease township open space that can apply for another permit to hunt on their property. All of our permitted hunters are required to submit a hunter's summary at the end of the season. If they submit this summary report, it's a simple 1-page report just saying how many antlerless deer did they kill and how many antlered, and when, in what season, and by what method. If they submit that report back to us by the deadline, which is in early March, we guarantee their spot back for the next year. If they don't, they go back into the lottery. So that's kind of the incentive so that we can get the data back for that. This is a map of our hunting areas. It does not include one area that we're going to talk about, but it just kind of shows you the different areas around the township where hunting is allowed right now. We have 2 areas in the township that allow firearm. This is just a summary of the results from 2017 to 2018, so last year's program. We received 107 hunter summary reports out of the 154. That was as of June 1st, and I haven't received any more since then. Season 3, as you can imagine, because it's firearms season, was the most successful. 82 antlerless deer were bagged, as well as 36 bucks. That was followed by Season 1, which is the just bow hunting. And that was 61 antlerless and 17 bucks. And then Season 2, which is where the muzzle loader comes in, is the 14 antlerless and 7 bucks. So out of our 14 sites, the top 5, just in terms of numbers, 10 Mile Run, Greenway, 44 deer were called. And then as you can see, it goes down from there. Butler Road and the Terhune properties were tied, followed by Dunn, Wilson, and Negri Napodi. So for 2018 and 2019, the Division of Fish and Wildlife has released the dates. So as you can see, they're on your screen in your presentation. They basically mirror dates. Season 1 is September 8th through the 26th, and that's just bow hunting. There is a youth day on September 22nd for bow only, and a November 17th firearm only day. And the rule is that you must take a doe before you go for an antlered deer. Season 2 is October 27th through December 31st, and that is bow hunting and muzzle loader. And then December 3rd through February 16th, which is the end of the hunting season, muzzle loader is allowed until the 9th, shotgun is allowed until February 9th, and then we also have a 6-day firearm season, which is December 3rd through December 8th. That's like just a 6-day closed firearm season, and then winter bow is allowed for the entirety of that. So after doing some research, I went to a deer symposium with Chairman Puskas from the Ag Advisory Committee. Also had a lot of discussions with the Township Manager, the Ag Advisory Committee, Trails Committee, and Open Space Advisory Committee, and we've come up with some recommendations, and I'm just going to present them to you. The first recommendation is to close Negri Napodi grasslands and Griggstown grasslands for all of Season 3. So that would be December 3rd through February 16th.
By close, you mean close to the public?
Close to the
allow
public.
hunting
Close to the public, hunting only for all of Season 3.
Except Sundays.
Monday through Saturday. Yes, Monday through Saturday, that's correct. No hunting on Sundays is allowed. So Sunday, the public would have access to those properties, but for Season 3, it would be just those 2 properties, Negri Napodi and Griggstown, closed to public access to allow our hunters to safely use firearms for the purposes of deer management on those properties. In speaking with OSAC, one of the recommendations they had to kind of also balance out the needs of the public was to remove all firearm from Season 2. So in Season 2, there is muzzleloader allowed. OSAC said, why don't we talk about removing all firearms from Season 2, leaving it just bow hunting, so balance the needs that the public has to use those properties. So that was one recommendation. It's going to be safer for hikers and hunters. Hunters have, expressed some concern about seeing members of the public there when they're not supposed to be there. That does happen. It's an opportunity to cull more deer, which is going to lead to better deer management. And we're going to try and balance the needs of the public and the hunters. So that's the goal for that. Another recommendation, which has so far come to fruition, was to include some county-owned ground for hunting. So the township manager and I met with Somerset County's acting director a while back, I think in May, right? And we talked about, would there be an area that the county has that we could hunt on in Franklin Township? And they were generous enough to offer up the South Metlers piece, which I'm going to show you later. It's adjacent to Colonial Park, and it has a lot of deer on it. And so the way their program works is that We fill out a list of hunters that will hunt the property. They have to show their insurance, they have to sign a waiver, and then only that group of listed hunters can hunt there and call the deer, which would be excellent. So we have that. We filled out the paperwork, we've gotten the approval, we just have to submit, you know, the list of hunters and all the liability insurance.
That area is actually immediately adjacent to the reddest area here on this map.
Yes, it is. And they were very easy to work with. They have a really good hunting program going on there, which is great. The other recommendations are to simplify the hunting paperwork, which I have kind of started to work on. There's a lot of duplicity in the paperwork now, and so we're looking to kind of make that a little simpler, as well as maybe adjust the hunter summary forms a little bit more so that we can get better data in. We're definitely going to clarify the signage. Now, no matter how much signage you put up, sometimes people are going to wander onto where they're not supposed to be, and that happens, but we're going to make an effort to make the signage much clearer so that it's safer and just easier to read, basically. And then lastly, we're going to engage a studio class from Rutgers for the fall 2018 semester. I have a slide on that, so I'll just go into that. Before we do that, this is a aerial of the South Metlers piece. So the northwestern and western portions are the areas of there that are going to be hunted.
So the northwestern area borders the canal. On the other side is the canal path. So
They're required to be 150 feet from occupied dwellings, but obviously the hunters that will be hunting this property are familiar with the area. That's why they're being chosen the way they're being chosen.
I would suggest some signage to save the dispatchers many calls. I would suggest some signage along the canal path. Otherwise, you're going to get a lot of reports of gunshots.
This is bow hunting only.
Oh, it's bow hunting.
So there won't be any gunshots.
Then those are pretty quiet.
And I'll be I'll be honest with you, they're pretty stealthy when they go out and hunt with the bows. I don't think that anyone on the towpath will even know that they're there.
Quiet bows.
Yep. So I mentioned about the Rutgers studio. So Dr. David Tulloch, he is the chair of the Center for Remote Sensing and Spatial Analysis at Rutgers University. So what they do there is they do a lot of mapping and research based on spatial analysis. So I did meet with him. He has a studio of 5 graduate level students that are going to work for the entire semester on deer management foundational documents just for Franklin Township. So they're going to start in August. They're going to come out. They're going to do intensive site inspections. They're going to do some habitat modeling. They're going to look at where is the connectivity of habitat and food sources, where's the disconnectivity. They're going to study movement patterns, and they can do all of this via GIS, but they, of course, will also be on the ground as well. They're going to meet with the township manager, the committees, and they're going to give a final presentation. They're happy to do it at the council or the committees or wherever, you guys end up feeling it's appropriate. But I have worked with them in the past. Not only will they come up with some great land use techniques for deer management, they'll also come up with some modeling that we can use, probably some GIS layers that we can import into our database. And they'll also come up with a final document. It could be an atlas of maps. It could be just a brochure. We'll kind of work with them to mold what that is. But it's no cost to us. They get credit for doing this, and they're graduate students, so they're very skilled. And so this is just, the next steps. If the hunting program gets approved tonight, then I will be able to get the applications out. A lot of hunters have been calling and asking when the applications are coming out. So I've already updated it so that we can kind of at least get moving, get them out, and hopefully issue the permits August 20th, roughly, end of August. And then the RU students will start at the end of August as well, and we will do the field work with them and have them come to some committee meetings. And that's it. So if anyone has questions or comments.
Mayor.
Mr. Chase.
After Mr.
This is something I've discussed with the Environmental Commission, and they actually passed a motion that, and we're really talking about the 2019-2020 season now, that the manager look into cost and other aspects of having professional hunters to really reduce the deer population, and also into putting deer fencing around the DeMott Lane open space, that being an area of particularly frequent deer car accidents, and also a forest that particularly needs protection for regeneration. Another place we might look into doing this is township-owned forest at Old Fleet Lane and South Middlebush, where the fatality occurred, just to both protect these forests and protect motorists from deer coming out of the forest. Of course, the deer always have other places to go, but at least if they're not coming right out of the forest, you have a little more warning that they're there. But this is really asking for feasibility before we'd go to the Open Space Committee and also look for public comment on this.
One really good thing about, you had mentioned the fencing or some type of actual physical barrier for deer is that the Rutgers students, they will be looking at things like that. So we may be able to get some conceptual designs out of that as well. So that's something you can talk to them about and bring up and see if that's something we can incorporate, because I understand your point on that.
I know that Ray Kelly of Raritan Valley Community College, who has studied the impact of deer on forests in central New Jersey, got estimates for fencing of the college's woodlands there, and with two options. One is you just do plastic fence and attach it to trees, and then much more intensive, you do metal fence and attach it, install posts to support it, which is the thorough way to do it. But it's of course more expensive. And it also has to be recognized that there is continuing maintenance necessary for deer fencing, because trees come down and break the fence down, or branches or whatever. So after a storm, it would be necessary to inspect the fence and see what needs to be done. But I just think that at least north of Amwell Road, we just can't have enough recreational hunting to make any dent in the deer population. South of Amwell Road, I think we have an even greater problem making a dent in the deer population, because of course the 6 Mile Run, although Mr. Puskas and other farmers do hunt there quite a lot and take quite a few deer there.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Vasanella.
Thank you very much. So, thank you, Councilman Chase. You very eloquently said a lot of things that I'm just going to throw out a few items here. We can't do enough anymore, in my mind, for the deer. You have 160 crashes. There were probably a lot that people hit a deer and didn't even report it. And those 100, double. Okay, I'm hearing 320, and they probably took place over the course of maybe not only half the year mainly. So when you're talking about accidents constantly, I live in the northern section, it's crazy. I'm not a hunter, never been a hunter. Over the last few years, a lot of us have talked about the idea of professional shooters and deer fencing. Last year, there was a campaign many of us were involved with. one of the number one, if not the number one thing that was mentioned, not in an angry way, just can we do anything, can we do anything? So I can go on and on and on, but I know Councilman Unjako, and I mentioned earlier tonight, myself and some other council people were eager to get involved in this and have a discussion, but knowing all this was happening, obviously waiting till now. So coming full circle here, I'm just going to recommend an idea, and from what you were saying, that we have one meeting when they convene with the group from Rutgers, because I think you have enough committees and groups, both township and citizens, and of course us, that we might as well do it all at the same time. Just my recommendation. I think we're all looking to make this a better situation with the deer. That being said, the fencing, a lot of people have asked for fencing. I haven't heard any negative comments, but we may get people who say they don't like it. To me, safety is more important than aesthetics. DeMont Lane is a perfect place. Matter of fact, some of the people were asking me lived on DeMont Lane. So I'd like to not go on and on, but I don't know if we need to give a directive. Obviously, it's not going to cost a lot. The manager would assign whoever. I guess you could do with a nod of our heads, but I would want us to make part of the next several months a staff member with the town, or the manager or his staff member that he desires, to gather some of the facts that Councilman Chase was talking about, and they could perhaps be part of the presentation in the end of the year that we're getting with the rest of it, and then we could think seriously, obviously including
I think the
comments
manager has a question.
from those committees. We could think about taking some, let's just say, more extraordinary steps going forward into the following season, like Councilman Chase suggested.
So let me just, so as far as the fencing is concerned, it would be a major capital project. It's not something that's getting done this year.
I understand that.
We're talking about, probably in excess of $100,000. All right. And that's what one of the goals of this effort by these Rutgers students will be, is to determine those things. So I don't want to put the cart before the horse here. Let's let them do their thing, and they'll prepare a full report back to the town as part of this. And we have a very, very capable person seated to my left here who is going to manage all of these projects, and that's why we hired her. And I'm so happy that we did, because all of these good things are as a result of 6 months worth of work. So before I get the sidetracked on other things, I can give her the pat on the back that she so aptly deserves at this point in her very brief tenure here. She's done a tremendous amount of work, and this is one of those examples here. So I'm going to let her go back to doing and answering your questions, but I just want to know, I want everyone to know that this will all get done, but this is a project that will take more than just a couple months to get completed.
So, yeah, no, I'm good with all this. And this project, this report, by the way, again, is not that it hasn't been good in the past, but we are getting better and better, and obviously this is a result of your work and input in this. So I'm fine with all that, but the shooter, professional shooters, or whatever they're technically called, will they be exploring that? Because, of course, council's always concerned about legalities, cost, and I don't want to duplicate their work, but I don't want to assume that these students will bring back the facts so that the other groups in council can make a decision whether or not to pursue that.
Right. What happened was, when I was looking back, I think we're missing some foundational documents. So I don't know that we have the data in hand to kind of say, do we really need, do we need the shooters yet, the professionals? Do we not, the fencing? So that's why this group, they will research all of that, and anything that anyone brings to them, that you say, this is like really important to us and we want to research it, they will absolutely look at it. They might not have the answers for everything, but at least, we can kind of figure out from there where to go. So yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah.
The cost is the main thing. Cost would be the main thing, because even if everything else is good, that's obviously council's got to be conscious of, and safety.
I will remind council that we still have CDBG.
We do. And I just want to remind council that the last time these foundational documents and this work was done was 1999. So the data that we have is 19 years old. So that's why I say we just need to get all of that work done, and this is a fantastic way to get it done, and it was Tara's idea to go to Rutgers and get these students. So that's what I'm saying. Let's let her get that done for us.
Councilman Prasad.
Just a brief comment, Mr. Mayor. I lost my front end, cost me a lot of money to replace my entire front end. And
How about your car?
Huh?
I'm sorry.
And the other was, my son was out swimming at the Cedar Hill Swim Club and got bitten by a tick. And the next thing you know, it was almost like paralysis.
Yeah.
So the Lyme disease is real.
It's dangerous, very dangerous.
So,
yeah.
and the natural predators are not there anymore. The balance is not there anymore, so we have to bring in the artificial balance.
Yeah,
So-
I understand completely. It's ironic because today actually I found out my dog has Lyme's disease, which is ironic that I found this out today. But yeah, it's rampant. It really is. So.
So anything you can do to control the herd, that would be good. Thank you.
Councilman Onijaka.
No, I don't have anything
Oh,
to say.
I'm sorry, I thought you were trying to get my attention.
No, 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 no.
If I can,
All right.
Bob, is it,
Yes.
do we need to do this by resolution? Or are there any
so-
ordinances that are impacted by
this is, this is a policy that it should be done by resolution of council. And really, the thing that I want to bring to the attention, that this was a wonderful presentation, and you just got a whole lot of information and where we're going and what we're doing. But what you're voting on tonight as part of a resolution is the hunting policy for the 2018-2019 hunting season, which will change what you did last year. The recommendations out of the Open Space Advisory Committee, out of the Trails Committee, out of the Ag Committee, and out of your township manager, who personally had to tell young people not to go out on the trails in Griggstown because there were hunters out there with shotguns when they were about to go in conflict while I was down there checking on the property, is that last year we allowed a mixed use of those two properties, Negri, Napodi, and Griggstown. It, in my opinion, failed. It failed for a number of reasons. The signage is almost impossible to come up with verbiage that conveys the message that's necessary, and it allows for conflicts between shotgun hunters and hikers that I think we really need to avoid, and it'll also allow, while we did have discussions with that hunters primarily hunt during the early morning and later afternoon, even early evening hours, it will also allow hunters to be there throughout the day and perhaps increase the culling that is taking place here. So it is the recommendation of those committees and me that we move towards a full closure of those two properties Monday through Saturday during that particular season, and that we prohibit gun use in another in season 2 that would otherwise be permitted, and only allow bow hunting, so we avoid that conflict and open up the property to hikers during season 2. So that's the change.
So we just need to make a motion and vote on it?
What?
Or what?
Mr. Mayor? Yeah.
Yes.
I'm asking the township attorney.
Wait, I'm sorry.
That's correct.
Councilwoman Francois has the floor.
I was just asking to move this stair management program forward, which I think are great recommendations. I think you did an excellent job. I can remember so many times we've been here, and this council chamber has been full with residents that are angry, and I think you did a lot to solicit the input, and this is the way to go. So if we need to make a motion, I would like to make one at some point.
Second.
1 second. Wait a
You
minute. You want to say something?
No, hold it. We have a motion and we have a second. Mr. Gualtieri has a comment. We're on to discussion now.
Okay, so a couple quick questions on this for this program still.
Does it pertain to the motion?
No, I had questions prior to the motion being.
No
Too
one
late.
saw him.
You were
Yeah.
beat.
What?
But we are currently in a motion. We should be discussing the motion. If it doesn't pertain to the motion or affect how anyone would vote on the motion, we can discuss it afterwards.
Well,
What,
Mr. Wright?
Councilman Chase?
Mr. Councilman Chase, do you have a discussion on the motion?
Yeah, you have said that we would close season 2 to gun hunting.
Yes.
Season 2 is listed here as October 27th to December 31st. I think what you meant was that we would close from October 27th to December 1st to any.
The muzzle, yeah, you're correct, Councilman,
Yeah.
yes, you are correct.
That, I just wanted to.
It's the recommendation included in your handout for the seasonal restrictions. So you are correct. I misspoke.
It's just the way it's written in here, it says close season 2 to any gun hunting, but season 2 as listed even includes.
Right, up to December 2nd.
The all weapons.
Yes.
Week.
Yes, the all weapons week. Sounds like a bad cable TV show. But yes, it is up to December 2nd.
Yeah,
So
and I think this is really only taking out certain days which in the in November, which the state program allows gun hunting, but it's quite, there's a very confusing
It gets confusing.
there,
It
and
gets
it's
confusing
easier
for
to take it
signage purposes, but this will make that much clearer.
Exactly.
And I don't think it really eliminates the opportunities for those that would go out afield for that purpose. We're really not taking that many days away from the opportunities.
And it leaves then another month when there's bow hunting, but walkers.
And
can
hikers
go
can
on-
be out of
hikers
field.
can go on the
Exactly.
property.
So, is there more discussion? So, actually, that motion was kind of a loose motion. Perhaps, Mr. Manager, you would suggest.
My understanding of Councilwoman Francois's motion was to follow the recommendations listed in Tara's handout that went out to all of you and was the presentation put on tonight.
So I just want to be exact as to what those recommendations are, so everyone understands.
Okay, so you have a page that's called Recommendations for the 2018-2019 season, and it would be those recommendations. Remove all firearms from Season 2 up to December 2nd, making it safer for hikers and hunters, and because the time frames are confusing, and closing of Negri Napodi grasslands and Griggstown grasslands for season number 3, Monday through Saturday, to all other than hunters that are registered with the town.
And everyone understands, I want everyone to understand the dates of seasons 2 and 3.
Right, so that's on.
And the reason, as Councilwoman Francois pointed out, we have gotten people here complaining before, and we'll get them again. So they said because it wasn't open enough. So we're making a decision here that's going to be controversial. That's what we get paid for, 20 cents a week. But
the dates, I want to give you the dates. So the dates that Negri Napodi and Griggstown, or the 10-mile run, I guess, in totality, would be closed Monday through Saturday are December 3rd through February 16th. That is Season 3 on the bottom of that page, and that's part of your handout where it's listed Season 3 under the 2018-2019 season dates.
and what's closed during Season 2, October 27th through December 31st? Nothing,
no. If you see, there's permit muzzleloader allowed by the state of New Jersey during Season 2, but we will prohibit all so that permit muzzleloader will be prohibited during Season 2. But Season 2 overlaps Season 3 between December 3rd and December 31st. So December 3rd to December 31st, and then onward into 19 through February 16th, those are the dates that Negri Napodi and Griggstown would be closed to all but hunters,
So
Monday through Saturday.
For the purpose of the public, there is times now that we are opening up to them that there is not going to be hunting where there was hunting before.
There will be bow hunting, but not firearms hunting,
Right.
so that's those properties are open to both activities at the same time.
Right. And there may be some concern from people that the dog park is somewhat near the Metler area. It's actually, for as bow hunting goes, it's quite far from.
It's very far.
It would be out of range.
There's
and
private properties in between.
And there has never, in the state of New Jersey's bow hunting history, had a bystander injured by a bow shot. Bow hunters have been injured, but no bystander has been ever injured.
And bow hunters have been injured falling out of trees, primarily, is how they get hurt.
Maybe from high council chairs.
Yes.
Um,
But yes, so that is how I understood Councilwoman Francois' motion to be put forth, and that was to follow the recommendations of the presentation.
And you agree with that?
Yes, I do.
Councilwoman, and who seconded
And I would
it?
even recommend that these 2 pages be put on the website, so it's very
And
clear.
my recommendation is the entire presentation is going to be put on the website once we were done tonight.
But these are the summary pages.
Those are the summary pages, and they'll be on the Open Space Advisory Committee page.
Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Onijaka?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
I lost track, I'm sorry. Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Shall we take a break, or are you okay?
No, I'm good. I
You're
just,
good, okay.
It's just really cold.
The counselor is concerned about the low temperature in the room, but.
Only from a budgetary point of view, I'm thinking save electricity.
It's very cold.
The floor
Mr. Houck,
now-
if you're watching, please turn it off now.
The floor is now to Councilman Gualtieri, who had a different question.
Yeah, I had 2 questions around this, actually. One is that in the future, well, I guess first with the fences, will that be taken into consideration for all regions or just the 2 specified, given the low, pretty much all?
My thoughts were that the instructions to this group of students would be to look at everything with open eyes and not be limited by anything, you know, and I don't want to influence them one way or the other. I look at all of our properties with fresh eyes and make your recommendations as you see fit.
So along the lines then, some of these back up into into residential neighborhoods, so we'll have to take them into account also.
Yes.
The second point actually is more around, we talk about the overpopulation and food available to the deer, of course. Is there, and we just had the Board of Public Health meeting right before this also, is there a program that's in place or that we can work with the Board of Health, or the Health Department rather, to maybe get residents not to feed the deer? Because
Well, since it's a violation of state law for them to do that, unless they're doing it as part of a baiting station, as part of a deer management plan, if you are aware of people who are doing that, perhaps you might want to bring that to our attention, or anyone who's listening, if their neighbors are doing that, because bringing the deer into your backyard is not a good idea.
Correct. So
I
that's why
agree.
that's
Yes.
why I was wondering if there's ways that we can pass that information along to make sure people are aware that they shouldn't be feeding the deer also. So, okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Sure.
I noticed that we have a lot of deer being called, but is there a count for every particular area, if that's possible?
Well, see, that's one of the things they're going to do. This is the census that we talked about. One hasn't been done since 1999, and that's part of this study, is to determine how many we actually have per acre.
Okay.
Yeah, and where they're most densely populated, and what we believe to be the case is up north. Up here, up above Amel Road is the biggest problem, because they live pretty much safely without fear other than from cars.
Can we move on to CDBG?
That would be good.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Community Development Block Grant Action Plan for SY 2018. Please state your name and address. Just your name, actually. Don't leave, we have another public hearing coming up. No, well, get up, come on. You're up.
I'm up. Better late than never, right? All righty. Well, tonight I'm here for the Community Development Block Program. The annual action plan is due to HUD this month. The township received an allocation from the federal government for $255,415. This money is given to the township to help with its low and moderate income citizens. We received the money primarily based on the population in East Franklin. However, we do have low and moderate income residents scattered throughout the township. Because of that, we do a fairly good representation of dividing the funds into projects that benefit all of our residents. So this year, the funds have been allocated as follows. We have $43,048 that we put into our rehab housing program. In public facilities, the total is $128,080, and that went to projects such as the Arc of Somerset, Franklin Township Food Bank, the Center for Great Expectations, the Willet Senior Center, and SCAP. For public services, we have $38,312. That was allocated to Middle Earth Journeys Program, Home Sharing, Central Jersey Housing Resource Center, Great Expectations Child Care Program, the Franklin Township Food Bank, Franklin Township Recreation Summer Camp, the Boys and Girls Circle Club for the township, Greats for Life, not Greats for Life this year, Sisters to Sisters Social Services Program, and Marie's Allied Help. We allocated $45,975 for planning and admin, and that again brings our total to $255,415. I'm asking for your approval to submit the action plan. I believe you all have copies of it. I think we've had enough hearings. You should have enough information to make a solid vote. And thank you very much.
So, Mr. Mayor, is she looking for a vote?
Yes, there should be a resolution in your,
but we
on
need
your
a public,
agenda tonight.
we need a public hearing first.
Yeah,
Does anyone have any questions? No questions. Do we have a motion to open to the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion on opening for public hearing, all in favor of opening for public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. We are now open for public hearing on this item only, Community Development Block Grant.
Mr. Mayor, seeing no one come forward, I make a motion we close public session.
Second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor of closing public discussion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Public discussion is closed. We now have Resolution 18262 approving the filing of the FY 2018 Community Development Block Grant. Do
So
I
moved.
have a motion on the item?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the item? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Chase,
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri,
Yes.
Mayor Kramer,
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka, Councilman Prasad,
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella, Councilman Wright.
Thank you. Now the meeting begins. Approval of the minutes. I present the following minutes for approval for the Township Council. The work session regular meeting on June 13th, 2018 at 7 p.m., the executive session of the same date, and then the work session regular meeting of June 26, 2018 at 7 p.m. Do I have a motion on these items?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion, any corrections? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois.
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri.
Yes.
Mayor Kramer.
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka.
Yes.
Councilman Prasad.
Yes to A and B, C I abstain.
Councilman Vasanella, Councilman Wright.
We are now on to the approval of warrants, or as former Mayor Brian Levine used to say, the bills we pay in the amount of $2,932,558.13 on July 10th, 2018 are presented to the Township Council for payment. Do I have a motion?
I move the warrants as read be paid.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Do we have any discussion, any questions on particular warrants? No. On particular line items? No. Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase,
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois,
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri,
Yes.
Mayor Kramer,
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka,
Yes.
Councilman Prasad,
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella, Councilman Wright.
Yes.
We have no first or second readings of ordinances, so we are on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda. Items A through AI, as listed on the consent agenda portion of this meeting, are presented to Township Council for adoption. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Anyone want to highlight an item, pull an item?
Mr. Township, I didn't want, just want to make sure the township manager didn't leave. Go ahead, Mr. Mayor. Did you?
Does anyone have any item?
Yes, sir. Not that I'm pulling this out, but if the manager can comment on H, Resolution 1870, New Jersey State Co-op, new mesh at Patriot Field fence at Middlebush Park. The Resolution 18271, structures for natural play area at Middlebush Park.
Do I detect a theme here?
Excuse me?
I said, do I detect a theme here?
Resolution 18275, the Middlebush Park grass graver project. And just a little comment from me, we want to pull out, we just want to mention Resolution 18292, the authorized issuance of a special permit for the Legal Longway Corporation Community Day, July the 28th, from 12 to 8 p.m. at Neben Williams Park. And we want to discuss AF, Resolution 18294, issuance of a special event permit for a Week of the People, which will be the back-to-school event on August 25th, 2018, from 2 to 8 p.m., also at Neben Williams Park. So I just want to go back to the three items that I mentioned, and it's time for Ask the Manager.
So all three of the items that the councilman brought up, the fence meshing for Middlebush Park, Patriot Field, the natural play area, and the grass pavers for Middlebush Park as well, the natural play area in Middlebush Park, were all capital projects that were included in the 2018 budget. The new mesh is the fencing, the chain link fencing around the Patriot Field. There's portions of it that are being replaced, and they're being replaced because it got stretched out as a result of balls hitting the fence, and now we're going to reinforce it with bottom rails as well as top rails so that doesn't happen anymore. And then there's the grass pavers, are areas where the pavers will go in to allow for vehicles to drive on, emergency vehicles and the like, to get out onto the fields. Even if the grass is wet and muddy, that gives you a support area to drive on, in particular an ambulance if it has to get out there. And then the last one is a natural play area, which is, it'll incorporate natural topography of the park and some water features, and incorporate natural things to play on, I guess is the best way I can put it, in an area of the park that would otherwise go undeveloped because it's in the area between really the parking lot and DeMott Lane, where there's the ability to build some kind of natural water play area, and it's a sensory area as well for kids to play in something other than like on a playground. It's just as its name says, a natural play area.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Oh, by the way, these are your tax dollars at work. Thank you.
Anyone else? So, Madam Clerk.
Much irony.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
No, I'm sorry, I wasn't calling a vote. I had a question for you.
Okay.
Canal Fest seems to have evaporated.
It's moved to the August meeting.
Madam Clerk, please say what you said to me on Monday. What was I on Friday? I was right. Wasn't that what it was? I was right that it should be on the August
meeting because they have to notify.
Thank you. Now the clerk
has the floor. Madam Clerk.
They have to notice the people, and they had the August meeting as when it was going to be approved, so it got moved to the August meeting.
Okay.
And the manager was right.
But Canal Fest still is a music festival with a lot of good food that's bad for you, and it's coming up on October 13th. I'm well within order. You are out of order, parliamentarian. And then a question for the parliamentarian, which I know the answer to because we have already discussed. We are awarding a non-fair and open professional agreement to CME Associates for professional engineering services. The daughter of an employee of CME is shadowing me at work. She is a pre-med student. I get no benefit from her shadowing me, but that relationship exists. Do I need to recuse myself?
No, you don't, Mr. Mayor. We had this discussion today.
Thank you. I just wanted that full disclosure into the public. Are there any other comments? Now, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Onijaka?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Item number 16, resolutions to be voted on separately. The following resolution is presented to the Township Council for adoption. Resolution 18298, award contract lease of photocopiers, Rico USA Incorporated, July 30th, 2018 through July 29th, 2022, various departments. We have a motion.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Being none, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Chase?
You didn't give me a chance. Is there a dollar figure attached to this resolution?
There's various, yes, there's, okay.
Yes. There's.
Yes, it's, I'm trying to like estimate, there are 4-year contracts for the two for police, for this year, it's $4,221.84. Construction, it's $4,296, and the reprogram and finance is $6,085.
Okay, yeah, I see it.
Are
It's
these-
just, the other resolution titles had the dollar figure in there with the title, and this one didn't.
Are these extensions of existing?
These are new, will be new contracts for these copiers.
Is there any other discussion? Call the roll.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Onijaka?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Are there any nominations for boards, commissions, committees, vacancies? Hearing none, we are now on to executive session. Resolution 18299, authorized executive session, litigation, Hobson versus Township. attorney-client privilege discussion, potential acquisition of property, Wilson Road, presents to the Township Council for adoption.
No, that was the three.
Oh, attorney-client, okay, yep. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved in second. And any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Councilman Oni Jaka?
Yes.
Councilman Prasad?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
At this time, the Township Council will briskly adjourn to the executive session to discuss litigation, Hobson versus Township, attorney-client privilege discussion, potential acquisition of property, Wilson Road. No other actions will be taken by the Township at the conclusion of the executive session. Therefore, the recording of the meeting will end now. Be well, Franklin.